previous generation of products and only making the value even better. And speaking of even better, if we take a look at the largest improvement yet, we can see here in the DirectX ray tracing feature test, which they did do over at Hardware Times, they actually got an insane 40% uplift with the newest graphics driver, jumping from 24.24 on the previous one all the way up to 33.45 FPS. That's right, it's almost playable, not, but in any case, yes, that is a very large improvement, and great to see that the RX 6000 series is still very alive and kicking. But that's not all. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story, where it looks like Intel's Arc A770 is whooping some serious butt. That's right, if we take a look at some numbers posted by Tech Power Up, the Arc A770 GPU from Intel is actually taking AMD out to lunch in 4K ray tracing performance. Now, I do believe this is probably a case of poor optimization, but we're talking about a card that's supposed to be around $330 to $350 versus a card that's supposed to be well over $1,000 oftentimes, especially if you're looking at AIB models. So if it's able to beat AMD at anything, coming in at around a third the price, well, that is very, very impressive stuff. And not only does it beat it, it absolutely wipes it across the floor. So honestly, yes, while this probably is a case of a little bit of poor optimization, I also do believe that Intel's Arc GPUs do have very impressive ray tracing performance overall, because it's also beating out the RTX 3080, which is only getting 15 frames per second. If we take a look at this chart, you can see that the RTX 4090 is getting a little bit over double the performance of the Arc A770, so they do have a ways to go. However, if they simply move over from a 256 to a 384-bit bus, they move to maybe GDDR7 or GDDR6X Plus, or whatever it ends up getting named, and they get a huge bandwidth improvement from that. And then let's say that they move to a smaller node and they double their core count. Well, we could actually be talking about a GPU that does have roughly double the performance of the Arc A770, and in ray tracing 4K performance, that would put it roughly on par with the RTX 4090. My only concern will be, is it going to be too late? Now, if they can get it out by early next year, then I think it still will be a great card, but I am a little bit worried that we could be talking about mid to late next year, and if that turns out to be the case, then I think it's going to be a little bit too late once again, and it's going to force them to bring their prices a lot lower than they were expecting. And we do really need Intel Arc to succeed, because AMD and NVIDIA at this point just simply aren't competing with each other, and they're raising prices higher and higher and higher. So I do really think we need Intel to come out with Battlemates as soon as possible and get in there with some very aggressive pricing, much like they did with their first generation GPUs, because these GPUs do have a lot of exciting tech in them. So yeah, hopefully the Battlemage series comes out sooner rather than later, and we can see even more competition from Intel, breaking up this ridiculous what seems to be a duopoly. But now it's time to talk about the RTX 40 series, because that's right, it looks like some GPUs could be getting canceled. Now, the GPUs in question would all be revolving around variants of the biggest RTX 40 series card ever created. Now, I also will mention that the RTX 40 Super series might not be happening as well. I'll talk about that more in depth in another video. However, rumor has it that the RX 7000 series refresh was likely canceled as well, meaning that the RTX 40 Super series likely won't be happening as well. So that can rule out a whole bunch of other RTX 40 series cards as well. But again, we'll talk about that more in depth in a future video and whether or not it is really going to happen. But let's talk about a little bit more about the Titan right now, because honestly, the fact that this might be canceled makes a lot of sense to me. It was just a slightly more beefed up version of the RTX 4090 Ti, and frankly guys, an extra 2% of shaders isn't really gonna make a difference. And honestly, the whole 800 watts thing that was going around, that's ridiculous. It was never gonna happen. When we're talking about total board power, much like I'll be showing you some of the specs for this in just a second here, total board power is just simply saying how much maximum power can you put through the PCB, and between the 800 watts plus the weird vertical layout of the whole DisplayPort array, none of it really made any sense for consumers, and I honestly think it's probably a good thing that it was canceled and is going to be replaced by the RTX 4090 Ti. Now, the 4090 Ti Ti, according to the latest leaks from Cop87 Kimi, is apparently going to be based off the 8102-400-A1 die. It'll have 18,176 FP32 cores, down from the 18,432 that were going to be present on the Titan. It's going to have 96 megabytes of L2 cache, up from the 72 that you see on the RTX 4090. And it'll also have 24 gigabytes of 24 gigabits per second GDDR6X, which is up from the 21 gigabits per second on the RTX 4090, and it's also going to be half the amount that you are going to be seeing on the RTX Ada Titan. Now, total board power is 600 watts, but once again, this does not mean it's going to be drawing 600 watts. I've heard that it's probably going to be somewhere between 450 to 500 watts, likely 475 watt TDP. However, if you want to unlock your power limit, 600 watts, once again, just like the RTX 4090, is very likely. So there you have it. If you were hoping to get the full die this generation, it looks like that's not going to be happening, and it has been canceled and replaced by a slightly cut down RTX 4090 Ti. Now, I think that's a little bit of a shame. You know, it just feels bad to be spending that much money, likely $2,000 on the 4090 Ti, to only be getting like 98% of the GPU and half the VRAM. However, the RTX Titan probably would have been like $3,000, so yeah, either way you look at it, these GPUs are getting ridiculously expensive. It's just yet another reason as to why we need Intel to succeed with their next generation and current generation of ARC GPUs. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and NVIDIA release new GPUs. Also, if you want to see more, check out one of these related videos. You won't be disappointed.
Estamos perdiendo Charlie. Estamos tomando Alfa.
Vito el aliado ingresando a este sector.
Estamos perdiendo Bravo.
¡Vamos!
Tenemos todos los objetivos. Mantengámonos a salvo.
¡Cargando! ¡Me deshice del francotirador! En posición.
Enemigo asegurando Charlie. Enemigo tomando Charlie. Tomamos la delantera. Perdimos Charlie.
¡Cargador! Solicitando reconocimiento aéreo.
Copiado. UAV en posición.
El enemigo está asegurando Bravo. Asegurando Charlie.
Mina de racimo hostil desplegada.
Perdimos Bravo.
UAV con poco combustible. Regresando a la base.
Estamos tomando Bravo.
Bombardeo estratégico en espera.
El enemigo está asegurando Alfa.
Listo para la misión.
Uno.
Bravo asegurado.
UAV aliado en línea.
¡Cargadores!
Estamos perdiendo Bravo. El enemigo tomó Bravo. Asegurando objetivo Bravo.
¡Recargando!
Reconocimiento hostil activo.
Asegurando objetivo Charlie.
Encubro las espaldas. Lanzando.
El enemigo tiene dos objetivos. Ve por ellos. El enemigo está tomando Alfa. El enemigo capturó todos los objetivos.
UAV listo para la misión.
Estamos tomando Charlie.
¡Más XTX!
Controlamos Charlie.
UAV enemigo arriba.
Asegurando objetivo Alfa. Objetivo Alfa asegurado.
UAV enemigo activo.
Perdemos terreno.
¡Cargando! ¡Amenaza destruida! ¡Ay!
Listo para salir.
Aseguramos 2 objetivos. Estamos perdiendo
¡Tengo
Alfa.
poca munición!
Asegurando Bravo. El enemigo está asegurando Alfa. Perdimos Alfa. Objetivo Bravo asegurado. Enemigo asegurando Charlie. Misión fallida. Se terminó.